Hello everyone. In this class we are going to learn about Bloom's taxonomy. During 1948, the convention of the American Psychological Association led Bloom to spearhead a group of educators who eventually undertook the ambitious task of classifying educational goals and objectives. Eventually, this framework became a taxonomy of three domains: the cognitive, that is knowledge based domain consisting of six levels, the affective, attitudinal based domain consisting of five levels, and psychomotor skill based domain consisting of six levels. In 1956, 8 years after the group first began, work on the cognitive domain was completely and a handbook commonly referred to as Bloom's taxonomy was published. This chapter focuses its attention on the cognitive domain, while Bloom pushed for the use of the term taxonomy. Others in the group resisted because of the unfamiliarity of the term within educational circles. Eventually, Bloom prevailed forever, linking his name and that term. So, what is Bloom taxonomy? Understanding that taxonomy and classification are synonymous helps dispel uneasiness with the term. Bloom's taxonomy is a multi-tiered model of classifying thinking according to six cognitive levels of the complexity. Throughout the year, the levels have often been depicted as a stairway, leading many teachers to encourage their students to climb to a higher level of thought. The lowest three levels are knowledge, comprehension, and application. The highest three levels are analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. The taxonomy is hierarchical. Each level is subsumed by the higher levels. Clearly, Bloom taxonomy has stood the test of time due to its long history and popularity. It has been condensed, expanded, and reinterpreted in a variety of ways. Revised Bloom's taxonomy, that is RBT, during 1990s. The former students of Bloom's, Lorraine Anderson, led a new assembly which made for the purpose of updating the taxonomy, hoping to add relevance for 21st century students and the teachers. This time, representatives of three groups: cognitive psychologists, curriculum theorists, and instructional researchers, and testing and assessment specialists. Like the original group, they were also unrigorous and diligent in the pursuit of learning, spending 6 years to finalize their work. The revisions include several seemingly minor yet actually quite significant changes. Several excellent sources are available which detail the revisions and the reason for the changes. Categories, terminologies, structures, and emphasis. Terminology changes between the two versions are perhaps the most obvious differences and can also cause the most confusion. Basically, Bloom's six major categories were changed from noun to verb forms. Additionally, the lowest levels of the original knowledge was renamed and became remembering. Finally, comprehension and synthesis were retitled to understanding and creating. So, in an effort to minimize the confusion, comparison images appear below. A while synthesize, analyze, application, comprehension, knowledge. It is old version. And new version will be creating, evaluation, analysis, applying, understanding, and remembering. So the graphic is representation of the new verbiage associated with the long familiar Bloom taxonomy. Then structural changes seems dramatic at first, yet are quite logical when closely examined. Bloom's original cognitive taxonomy was one-dimensional form with the addition of products. The revised Bloom's taxonomy takes the form of two-dimensional table. One of the dimension identifies the knowledge dimension, while the second identifies the cognitive process dimension, as represented on the grid below. The intersection of the knowledge and cognitive process categorized from 24 separate cells as represented on the taxonomy table. The knowledge dimension on the left side is composed of four levels that are defined: factual, conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive. The cognitive process dimension across the top of the grid consists of six levels that are defined as remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, create. Each levels of both dimension of a table subdivided. Changes in emphasis. Emphasis is the third and final category of changes. As noted earlier, Bloom himself recognized that the taxonomy was being unexpectedly used by countless groups never considered as an audience for the original publication. The revised version of the taxonomy is intended for much broader audience. Emphasis is placed upon its use as a more authentic tool for curriculum planning, instructional delivery, and assessment. As history has shown, why use Bloom taxonomy is well known, widely applied scheme filled a void, provided educator with one of the first systematic classification of the process of thinking and learning. The cumulative hierarchical framework consisting of six categories, each requiring achievement of prior skill or ability before the text. Next, more complex